Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I saw this on a marquee in Burley, and it really drew my attention because it is oh so true at this time of the year. The marquee said, "The manger was the first king-sized bed." Amen, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in, please. And a thank you very much, and Kate Smith, wonderful voice. God bless America. And here we are rocking and rolling on a Wednesday. Good morning and Merry Christmas to you and your family. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and they've got all your tires for wintertime driving. Stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you, Jerry. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and to you and yours, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, and may the Lord bless you and all your audience.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. K&R Rental brings us the weather. Hello, Roger and the crew over there at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there. Easy to find on the Burley-Paul Highway. Yep, they've got all the rental of the best tools and equipment, and if you're not sure what you need for a project or a construction job, be sure and call them at 678-3122. K&R Rental. Absolutely the best serving you, and right now here's Gina with the weather.
Not much precipitation is in the forecast for the rest of this week, but it does feel like winter. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're expecting mostly cloudy skies today. A slight breeze out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour and a high of 27. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low right around 10. Leave those faucets on a trickle so you don't have freezing pipes. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies, expecting a high of 28. Wind chill values as low as 0. Winds out of the east-northeast right around 7 miles an hour. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 16. By Friday, mostly sunny and 30. And as we look at the weekend, looks like mostly sunny skies for Saturday, high of 32, and mostly sunny and 33 for Sunday. That's your weather. For Zeb at the Ranch.
She always does such a great job. Gina, thank you for the weather. And it's brought to you by Roger and the entire crew at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Yep. On the Burley-Paul Highway, 678-3122. Wow and double wow. We got some great people coming on the program this morning. At 9:06, we've got Dave Bego from Indianapolis, Indiana. Then back east, we've got 9:30, Dr. Michael Busler, economist and professor. And following then, I'm really going to be interested in having a conversation with an author that has written a book about the Bible. and he's an attorney that had a lot of questions, and we're going to find out what his thoughts are. Daniel Buttafuoco is going to be on the program, and then at 10:32, as I promised, we're going to have a return of Dr. Gregory Wrightstone, author and speaker, and he is going to nail a lot of these climate change and global warming people right to the wall. Going to be interesting. Looking forward to it. Right now, I want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, by the way, right now, I want your phone calls. So give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I say a good morning to Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The family there with this business, over 6 decades of serving you. That's a long time of great professional help to you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. I urge you to call them if you have any problems. It's going to get cold the next couple of days. And the number is 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Before we really get rocking and rolling, calls are welcome again. Come on, give me a jingle. I'd like to really talk to you. I've got a lot of subjects we want to cover this morning. I also want to remind you that next Thursday, December 13th, we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant for our old-fashioned Denny's Christmas party. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thomas and the staff, everybody getting involved in it. Going to be a lot of fun like we've done for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's going to be a remote broadcast. I'll be over there from 8 to 11. And we're going to have Christmas carols and music from Ashley Ludlow. We're going to have Santa Claus there. Prizes, lots of prizes to give away. So everybody be there, please, at the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas party next Thursday, December 13th, at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, where you can stop in anytime, all the time, for the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Today, as you may or may not be aware, is a national day of mourning for our 41st president, President George H.W. Bush, that passed away at the age of 94. And a very sad day, but yet a day filled with respect. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Caller, I thank you for your call. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Is that me?
I hope so.
Okay. Well, it's birthday and anniversary dinner at the Senior Center on South Overland today. That means we're going to have turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, cranberry sauce, salad, and I think we're going to have some cake.
Uh-oh, what kind of yummy cake are you going to have, Joe?
I don't have a very good connection.
I said, what kind of yummy cake are you going to have?
I don't know, but we'll have some frosting on it, whatever it is.
All right. That's over at the Senior Junction. And by the way, real quick, Joe, what if they wanted to have a takeout meal?
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, my dear friend. Thank you very much. Evidently, they couldn't hear everything on the line, so I apologize for that, Joe. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really got into watching a lot of the respect for our president, George Bush, 41st president. And it was really amazing to me, and I want to hear from some of you folks, and also really nice people from all over the country packed up, and went back there to honor and respect him as he laid in state in the Capitol Rotunda. I mean, we're talking people from all over the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, flew into D.C. to pay their respects to George Herbert Walker Bush. You know, some of the most touching scenes And I know sometimes I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I couldn't help it, was when they wheeled in a wheelchair Kansas Senator Robert Dole, 95 years of age, had served our country as a war hero and as a politician. And at 95 years of age and just looking terrible because of his age and his health, they wheeled him up to the casket. And through the assistance of a great big strong Marine, lifted him out of the wheelchair so he could stand on very shaky legs. And he saluted the casket. It was a very touching moment. Very touching moment. And there was another. An 11-year-old Boy Scout, pardon me, came in and walked up to the casket as they were going in line and stopped the entire line. And he stood at a very straight, erect attention and saluted the casket for over a minute of not moving and standing at perfect attention. This was an 11-year-old Boy Scout. And when you saw that, you had to just sit back with tears in your eyes and say, you know something? God bless his grandparents, God bless his parents, and God bless him. There is a fine young American that shows respect. That was really something. 11-year-old Boy Scout standing tall and saluting our past president. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind everybody, too, about Magic Valley Carpet, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And they're located at 613 D Street in Rupert. Company coming for the Christmas holidays, and you might need a new carpet. Oh, yeah, you do. Call Magic Valley Carpet. They can, and they will help you at 436-1722. Also, Merry Christmas from Vicky's Country Garden. Hello, Miss Vicky. Wonderful lady at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. And she says, by the way, call her on her cell phone, 431-5667, and she'll help you get those gift certificates for Christmas. Vicky's Country Garden. And Magic Valley Irrigation. These are nice, nice people. Jeff and the entire crew over there wishing all the farmers and ranchers and area folks Merry Christmas, and thank you for the job you do producing all the food. Magic Valley Irrigation, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
That was impressive, wasn't it, that young Boy Scout?
You know, I got to tell you something, Doug, and we got a little bit of feedback there, Sean, if you would. I was absolutely brought to almost emotional tears when I saw them lift out of the chair Robert Dole, and then when I saw that Boy Scout come in and snap to attention, hey, that kind of made the old eyes sweat a little bit.
It did. That George H.W., he was one of the finest one of the people in the finest generation America's had.
You know, what I'm seeing in this country with his passing is I am seeing a little bit of lay down the hatchet and reach across the aisle. And yesterday, history was made. I did not know that President Trump and his wife had never until yesterday met with 43 George Bush and his wife. They'd never met face to face until yesterday at the funeral proceedings.
Yeah, that was news to me. I didn't know that either. So, and then also that little 9-year-old boy in Colorado.
Oh boy.
I mean, those two young men right there give me faith that there are some good parents out there teaching their kids patriotism, nationalism, to be proud of the country they're in, and to stand up and fight stuff that is wrong.
Well, let's tell everybody quickly, and I've got a synopsis that I've kind of thought about this morning. In Severance, Colorado, they had an ordinance that was over 100 years old that if you picked up and made a snowball and threw it at somebody, you're going to jail. Barney's going to arrest you. And this kid took this on, and he says, come on, throwing snowballs and making snowmen and a snow fort and having a snow fort war, that's a part of growing up. And he took on the city council, and the 9-year-old kid won.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And did you hear he wanted to throw the snowball at his brother, and his mother suggested just throw it at the street?
Yeah. I love it. I did love it.
And then they asked him, they said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he says, president, so I can have the White House all to myself and change things that are wrong.
You know, he was so sharp and so quick-witted, and I'm going to write that name down of that boy and keep it. If I'm old enough to remember and I live that long, that kid probably will be one of our presidents.
He will.
All right.
That right there gives me faith in the youth in this country, that there are a lot of kids being raised proper, like they should be, raised to be proud Americans.
Well, there's something else that I thought you were going to comment on this morning when you called, to be honest with you. That 16 states have said, wait a minute, back the bus up, Gus. We're going to allow and respect our national motto, in God we trust. 16 states have told the atheists and the people that don't want God ever intermingled with schools, they said, listen, go away. Just leave us alone. We're going to do it, and you can't stop us. And I understand the list is growing to have respect for our national motto, in God we trust, and I'm going to support those states as much as I can.
I am too. In fact, I got a decal in my window of my business that says, in God we trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen with the backlash of these crackpots and weirdos that are trying to take God out of our life. We've got a lot of different things about PC we're going to be talking about this morning, but I just wanted to say that I really respect the states, the 16, and I think some of them include like Arkansas and Tennessee, and I believe Florida and some other states are just bowing their necks and saying, no, you're not going to tell us to get rid of the national motto.
Exactly, and some states are putting that motto on the back of their police cars.
And they should.
They should.
You know, the idiocy and the ambiguity of the situation, it's on our currency. It's in all the halls of Congress, in God we trust, and yet, even though it's on our currency, we carry it around, we exchange it to buy goods and services, and these nincompoops are saying that we can't show it in the schools. What is this?
Exactly. So all those people that think that motto should be banned, and it hurts your feelings that you see it, I'll give you my address, and you can mail me all the money you have in your pockets and stuff, so you won't be supporting that national motto.
There you go. Yeah, we'll hold it for them.
Yeah, I'll donate it all to the senior centers. Anybody that sends me their money that doesn't like that will be donated to the senior centers.
That is a great idea. So for those of you out there, and there are some that live here in this area, unfortunately, that don't want in God we trust as a national motto and you're offended by it, just call Doug at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair and take your money over there if you're offended by it, and he in turn will give it to the seniors. I think it's a wonderful idea.
It is. It ought to be a new campaign.
There you go, buddy.
Hey, let's do what we can for our seniors, everybody. It's the Christmas season, the giving season. Let's put a gift on the tree for the senior centers, and also think of them in your will and your estate. If
Absolutely.
You're going to plan that. So God bless.
All right, Doug. Thank you for your call.
You bet.
All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The Me Too movement, where women are in complete control. And if they make any overture like, well, 45 years ago, this guy put his arm around me and tried to kiss me, and they just absolutely destroy his life, possibly get him fired from his business, and he loses everything, it's backfiring. It's backfiring big time, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with Nick and the whole staff of absolutely the most first-class physical therapists working and serving and helping you get back to being you. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and the number to call to make an appointment and start getting back to where you should be, 678-1191. I absolutely am so high on what they've done to help me, and they can help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. You call them today. Also, don't forget, on Tuesdays, we have a very, very interesting segment called Stoats Equipment Ag Minutes with Vic, our dear friend over at Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. And they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Caller, good morning to you. How are you? You're on the air.
Good morning, Zebediah.
Hello, Robert.
Merry Christmas again.
And a Merry Christmas to you.
Thing about In God We Trust. Every bill that I pay, every card, every letter, every envelope that goes out of my house, there's on the back of it stamped, In God We Trust, in big red letters.
You know, I really respect you for that, Bob, and knowing you as I do, I believe every word you just said, and I compliment you, and I wish more people would do that. I think cowards in this country have led us down a path of, oh, well, we can't do that because it's considered not to be politically correct today, and I commend you for standing up and saying that's the way it's going to be, and I'm not going to change.
Yeah, and like Doug says, if they don't like our money, they can do something else with it. Thank you, and have a good day.
All right. Merry Christmas, Bob. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk about the Me Too movement in a moment, but I've also quickly, thank you, Bob, appreciate it. Take some more calls. Ark Animal Hospital. You know, now is a very critical time, especially when it's really started to get cold at night, down in the low teens, etc., and possibly going to go colder. Your animals, whether it's itty-bitty kitty cats or it's your dogs, your horses, your cattle, whatever, they need more water. They need more water, and I urge you to get the heated water buckets and tubs and everything, because lots of water is needed by these animals in colder temperatures. Please take care of them. And if anything happens, they need their health taken care of, be sure and call Ark Animal Hospital at 678-1177. They're located at 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union. They are the best. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew serving you at Ark Animal Hospital, where they have warm hearts in this colder day, warm hearts for cold noses. There you go. Also, on Mondays, don't you dare forget that we give away cookies. And, oh, man, everybody's won the cookies, and nobody has ever showed up at my door to share in the wealth and let me have a taste of their great cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Every Monday at 8:30, we have a trivia question, and we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Great bakery. Wow, phenomenal bakery with all the cookies and the pies and even wedding cakes, beautiful wedding cakes, and also a great restaurant. Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. Really good, folks. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. What is happening with the Me Too movement? They are suffering a huge backlash from their all-encompassing, we're women, you're a man, and you're wrong, and you're guilty. That's the attitude that was prevailed. And now, after all of the Me Too movement, and I will admit, and I have to admit to be fair, there were many, many people like Harvey Weinstein, the movie mogul, and many others, absolutely, they should have been prosecuted and they should have lost their jobs or paid huge fines. But it's gone way beyond that now. I mean, we've had students in college. A guy put his arm around a girl and tried to kiss her on the date. And she, in turn, turned around and tried to prosecute him. I mean, we've lost our sanity on this. We've lost our sanity on male and female relationships, and now it's turned into, with this Me Too movement, you were gonna get ya. Well, it's not working out the way they had it planned. Now, male-owned businesses and executives that are in charge of hiring for different businesses are simply afraid to hire women. They're afraid to. They don't want any allegations. They don't want any innuendos. They don't want any problems. They don't want their business to be on the front page of a local newspaper, a local rag that says so-and-so did this and that, and absolutely without any trial or proof they're guilty. They don't want this. They don't want the risk. And you can't really blame them. I know I was listening to a couple of the people that are in charge of hiring for big executive accounts. A couple were on Wall Street. There were some legal firms, etc. And they all just looked at the camera and said, no, we are going to be really careful about who and what circumstances we hire women to our firm or our business. We cannot absorb to have anything happen with allegations or innuendos. It would destroy us. So maybe trying to force equality or political correctness, the women kind of shot themselves in the foot. What are your thoughts? I'd like to hear from some gals on this question. Please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also, Merry Christmas wishes from Representative Fred Wood, District 27. This man really cares and works hard for his constituents, and he wishes you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. That's from Representative Fred Wood. Thank you very much. And the Minnetonka Chamber of Commerce with Sarah and the whole crew, nice people. We'll be talking to them tomorrow at 1177 7th Street in Hayburn. They wish you a very Merry Christmas. And Mountain Transmissions. I'll tell you what, these folks are really good. Free towing, free diagnostic, and free estimates to keep you going. Mountain Transmissions at 1146 East Main in Burley, saying Merry Christmas, as does our great Senator Kelly Anthon from District 27. I'll tell you what, old Kelly, he really thanks all the people that have supported him, and he supports you, and wishing you a very Merry Christmas. All right, callers are welcome, 436-2244. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, good morning.
As a woman, I think these women are way off base. They've pushed to have Baby It's Cold Outside taken off the air.
Oh, my, yes.
The one out of the song Kiss a Girl out of... But yet rappers can get away with bleep, 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 a girl, bleep, 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 a girl, bleep, 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 a girl.
Let me ask you something. I will not listen, nor will I allow a radio within my reach to ever play any rap music. And again, Sean, we got a little feedback here, please. How did they get away with this, with their absolutely filthy remarks and sexual overtones, etc., and yet you take an old song, I think the song's been around for over 55 or 60 years, Baby It's Cold Outside, and they get that stricken from the airwaves. Explain that to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't. And the thing that is irritating is, like, if you watch or listen to, because I listen to Sirius old-time radio, or you watch a old movie and they talk about, well, he made love to me. He held my hand.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays I don't want to go there.
I'm going to have to ask you to speak up. For some reason, we're not getting you on my feed line very well. I wanted to ask you another question, even though we're having some technical difficulties right now. How do we get through this? Are we ever going to revert back to a boy-girl dating experience, date after date, and possibly a proposal for marriage? Men are becoming very scared today.
They are, and men are becoming... I heard something... last week that says that young boys need that rough and tumble play in the yard, wrestling and all that, because it helps develop their frontal lobe. And boys aren't being allowed to do that, which means their frontal lobe, whatever that controls, isn't being developed. So now we have mamby-pamby boys.
I agree. I could not agree more. I think that we have seen a complete wussification of America. There are very few young men that are young men, and it's sad that we've let ourselves go like this.
Exactly. I've worked around the trucking industry, which is predominantly men, my whole working life. And I tell guys, I said, you can call me chick, babe, honey, broad, whatever. Just don't call me ma'am and be a male chauvinist pig because it's condescending.
Okay.
And if you want to come up and give me a hug, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Because I know the difference between sexual innuendo and just genuine friendship, caring, whatever.
Let me ask you real quick before I let you go. I always say yes, ma'am, to any woman, I don't care what the age is. If she asks me a question, whether it's a nurse, a waitress, whomever it is, I'll say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Are you offended by that?
Absolutely not, because Grandma was going to kick your hind end when you got home. I know the difference between someone doing it from respect and someone doing it because they think, and there's very few out there. Like I said, I've worked in trucking around truckers my whole life.
Absolutely.
Loading their trucks, and and they go, "Ma'am, do you know what you're doing?" Is their attitude. I'll take you apart in a heartbeat. But if you come up and you say me, yes, ma'am, because I know Grandma's going to kick your hind end when you get home, I'm perfectly fine with that one.
Thank you very much for calling in, and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, and God bless.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. She kind of summed it up. I was raised, and if I didn't say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, or yes, sir, or no, sir, whap! I mean, I can still feel my dad's hand on the back of my head. I know a lot of you people are going to say today, in today's world, oh, that's child abuse. Oh, get over it and grow up. Good heavens, didn't bother us any when we were kids. It taught us a lesson to be respectful. I get sick and tired of these PCers. And that's just the way it was. And if I was in school and my teacher, oh, poor Mrs. Kiltz, I mean, man alive, even if I had committed a cardinal sin in school and I knew I was going to get a knuckle rap, and boy, I broke a lot of rulers with my knuckles, I always said, when she'd come up and she'd say, did you do that? I'd go, yes, ma'am, because I was afraid my dad might be hiding behind my desk, and bang, I'd get it again. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to get a chance to talk about Dino's Septic Service, and they are the best at what they do. I don't make any bones about it. They are great, and they've expanded their business to better serve all of the people right here in this area. Septic tanks pumped and septic inspection, sewer and sink drain lines clean, liquid waste removal, backhoe services. They are the best at what they do. Fast, fair, friendly service. All you need to do is call them at 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. And they got that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. You get a hold of them today. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my. And by the way, calls are welcome. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd like to hear from the rest of you about the Me Too movement has maybe stepped out of bounds and they can't get their feet back where they belong. Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. There is a good old boy, and they've got a great big old sand pit out behind the business, and if you're not sure how to run the equipment, they will turn you loose after they teach you. You'll learn, and you'll be a happy camper. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli and the Nampa location, and they've got all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes, and they got a real good deal. 0% 0% interest up to 60 months on the Bobcats. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales at Berry Equipment and Rental. You get a hold of them today. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Holy moly, give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk a little bit more about the PC movement in this country. They're getting more vocal. I don't know why, but they're getting more vocal. Yesterday we told you that PETA, the People for Ethical Treatment to Animals, and there's other words I could use for them, they are demanding, I love that word, they are demanding no more saying the phrases, well, let's bring home the bacon. Oh no, that's offensive to them. And they're demanding that you never use in your speech anymore, well, we can kill two birds with one stone by doing that. Oh, that's horrendous. They can't stand that. Or they don't like it when you say, don't put your eggs in one basket. Why? They don't want anything to do or have you do anything with and for animal agriculture. No, that's taboo. They want all animal agriculture stopped. They want people and, they want all the meat-eating folks in our United States and the world to stop. That's right. No more meat. No more meat advertising on television or radio. You can't look at the TV and see a beautiful, juicy steak smothered with mushrooms sitting next to a great-looking baked potato. They don't want that anymore. So my goal today is to offend any vegan that I can possibly offend at any restaurant I go to. So what I'm going to say is, during the Christmas holiday season, my wife and I, we like to go out and go to various restaurants, etc. So I just want it known that a lot of people know who I am. So when I sit down and order a big, juicy steak or a prime rib or a delicious breakfast with pork chops, I'm just smirking at you vegans, and you should be jealous because it tastes really good. Callers are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is going to be a great big, and I mean really big, special cow sale. Next Monday, it's going to be the Burley Livestock Sale Yard presenting the third annual Bred Cow Sale, Monday, December 10th at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is going to be on a Monday. Don't forget that. They're going to have their regular sale on Thursdays. They're going to have over 1,200 head of good quality cows and heifers with top genetics, mostly one-iron cattle. So don't forget, that's next Monday, December 10th at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. For more information, contact Cade Rogge at 431-0074 or call the Burley Livestock office, 678-9411. This is going to be a really good sale. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Any subject this morning?
Shoot from the hip, Jesse James. You're on the air.
Okay. The wall, indigent care, and what just happened in France. From what I understand, at one time, indigent care here was 20 million, then it jumped up to 60 million. I don't know what it is now.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Let's define something here, Tony. When you say indigent care, what are you talking about? Be more definitive in your clarification.
Okay, we taxpayers here are picking up the tab for indigent care in the state of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how much more are we going to have to put up with this indigent care, property taxes going up, school levies, and taxation has caused this big problem in France. Don't you think it could happen here?
Oh, it will. It's a done deal. It's a slam dunk. It's a closed book. It's going to happen here if the Greenies and the left and the liberals and the Democrats take over power in this country and try to have a forced control with a climate change or global warming theory, and they're going to try to kill off fossil fuels. I'll say this. I'm an old man. I'm 71 years old. I will be one of the first people to go out in the streets and riot and protest, because this is asinine to tax people into obscurity in a world where we have all of God's assets and we're not allowed to use them.
You know, we just paid our property taxes yesterday, and of course they're going up, and then you got school levies coming up. You know, how much more can we do before taxpayers explode? And I see it's going to happen here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just absolutely one of these guys, and I'm not afraid to call a spade, and I think we're going to see the same thing that France is going through, because the middle class over in France have said, wait a minute, we can't feed our families, we don't have any, we got too much month left at the end of the month and no money, and this is ridiculous. And I applaud these people for making Macron, the Prime Minister of France, sit back and realize that he made a real bad mistake and he repealed that heavy tax on diesel. I absolutely applaud them.
Yeah, you know, the trucks couldn't afford the gas to bring food and any other supplies into the cities, so, you know, you push people up against the wall. And I really do see it happening here.
Oh, I do too. I don't think there's a question about it, and I'm not asking for it to happen. I'm not relishing the thought that it might happen. But I think people have got to let government officials know that they represent the people. They don't represent their self-interest, and they do not represent control of the people. And I, for one, I don't care if it's Crapo, I don't care if it's Risch, I don't care who it is. They need to know and remember that.
It's going to be cheaper to put the wall up and keep bringing these people in here that do not belong here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm on your side, and I appreciate your call. And to you and Mary, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Zeb, and same to you, and I hope Deanne is feeling okay, and maybe one day we'll be able to get together.
I hope so. It's going to have to be during the Christmas holiday break, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
Okay, Zeb.
All right, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. We got to get a weather forecast on here right now, and the weather brought to you by our dear friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my, they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and they are good in serving you and your hearing health. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Hunsaker, all of these folks really care, and believe me, when it comes to hearing problems, they can and they will help you. Call the number 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not much precipitation is in the forecast for the rest of this week, but it does feel like winter. Here's a look at your weather forecast for us at the ranch. We're expecting mostly cloudy skies today. A slight breeze out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour and a high of 27. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low right around 10. Leave those faucets on a trickle so you don't have freezing pipes. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies, expecting a high of 28. Wind chill values as low as 0. Winds out of the east-northeast right around 7 miles an hour. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 16. By Friday, mostly sunny and 30. And as we look at the weekend, looks like mostly sunny skies for Saturday, high of 32, and mostly sunny and 33 for Sunday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. And the weather brought to you, excuse me, got a frog in my throat, send him back to the swamp. The weather brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. These are wonderful, wonderful people that are very skilled, very compassionate audiologists that will help you and your family. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, the number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. All right, I'd like some calls. Oh, quickly again, I want to remind you next Thursday, put it on your calendar. We're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley for the entirety of my program next Thursday. It's the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas carols and music by Ashley Ludlow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Santa Claus there, prizes, loot in the boot to help needy families, all of it at Denny's Restaurant next Thursday from 8 to 11. Everybody trying to be there. Okay, calls are welcome and appreciated. Thank you. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you that this sounds like I'm bragging. And maybe I guess I am. I was one of the very, very, very first people anywhere in the United States yesterday, and I know this for a fact. I had a person back in D.C. that listens every morning say that I was. When I gave you the story yesterday about the guard dog called Sully, that was a wonderful, wonderful service dog that was laying in front of the casket of George H.W. Bush. And I told you about the article that was written by a Slate staff writer by the name of Ruth Graham and how despicably low life, low quality that article was, where she denigrated the dog and denigrated the circumstances. Well, other talk show hosts picked up on this story last night. Some picked up on it this morning. I scanned the dial and listened. And if I were Ruth Graham right now, I think I would be looking for job applications at her city sewage department, because I think her life and tenure as a writer is about run amok. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's very rare that I call you, but I turned you off to go in and have my cup of tea and sort of watch the funeral. I could not believe what the first thing I saw, Hillary and Bill sitting there looking and smiling and pointing around and talking and carrying on. And then when President, and by the way, she looks like she has a ton of Botox in her face. When the President and Melania walked in, Melania very graciously shook hands with the Obamas and waved at the Clintons. And then President Trump shook hands with the Obamas, and Hillary and Bill turned their heads, looked the other way. I can't believe those rude pigs.
You know, it goes without saying that there's a lot of animus from the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, against Donald Trump, his administration. They have done all they can to denigrate him, and Hillary, of course, fails to realize that she lost the 2016 election. She's living in a utopia that she's created for herself, and nobody else is living there. I find that to be very rude under the circumstances of everybody trying to come together to celebrate and thank the family and a man that served our country, and I find that to be extremely rude.
Well, not only that, you know how liberal CBS and the people that talk, with their fake news and stuff, they even commented, the lady that was talking, I believe it's Norah O'Donnell. Anyway, she said, the Clintons looking straight ahead, not even acknowledging President Trump. She even mentioned it.
And really, it's a time to put aside any personal feelings of animus against anybody. Walk in, be respectful of the situation and the people that are there. I myself, and boy, I'm an old hard-nosed German, I have had to, on certain circumstances, go into various events and kind of eat crow, if you will, and sit next to and or visit and or shake hands with people that I really don't care for. But it's the circumstances.
If you get a chance, when you get off the air and stuff, you might run through it and you'll see it. But what tickled me is even the CBS person acknowledged that they snubbed him.
Well, you know something? I really respect you for calling me on this, and I will take a look at it. But now I want you to remember, you can always drink your tea and still listen to me.
Well, I couldn't watch the TV and listen to you at the same time, even though, I'd rather listen to you.
Well, I'm going to send your check is in the mail. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
All right. God bless.
By the way, are you as good looking as you were over 30-something years ago?
I don't know if I was ever good looking, but I'll tell you something. There's a lot more gray that's taken place in 30 years that I didn't have a long time ago.
Do you remember when you and your buddy in crime that were on, I believe it was KEZJ radio, came in and were at Nutrisystem for a while?
I do, but I don't know if I want to pursue this anymore on the radio.
No, that's okay, but I was your nurse.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Well, God bless you. It's good to talk to you again, and thank you, and a very Merry Christmas to you.
And you didn't need to lose weight then.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind. Thank you.
God bless and have a good Christmas.
Nice lady. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate that. I want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, and they've got all the tires to be ready for anything the highways and byways throw at you. Mud, sleet, snow, hail, mush, yuck, everything. They've got the tires, all the different tread designs, all the different sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs, everything. So stop in and see them today, along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Gina said it's going to be down around 0. Hey, you better check your battery. Go in there today and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to turn it back over to the main studio right now. A little music taking us up to CBS News. I'll be back in 7. Oh, good morning, and welcome back to hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, with our major sponsor. You can kill the music now, Sean. Thank you. Our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and, of course, our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We've had some people call and say that it might be a little distorted on the air this morning, and I'm going to have Sean kind of look and listen into that to make sure everything's set just right. And but during the break, I had some calls and some texts, so if you'd check on that, I'd appreciate it. Right now, we're going to have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I guarantee you that they are serving you, and that's Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969 and let them help you get rid of your garbage. I tell you what, get on the route service. Call them and say where you live and everything, and they'll put you on the route service. They'll pick your trash up. It is gone. It's out of there. Number to call, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Want to remind you, too, on Thursdays at 9:17, we have a wonderful segment that introduces you to all the wonderful, dedicated medical experts serving you at Cassia Regional Hospital. That's tomorrow at 9:17. Your friends, your neighbors, Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home at 9:17 tomorrow morning. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our guest on the air, but I want to remind you, Merry Christmas wishes go out to you from AMI at 719 Overland and Burley, and you can look for the big 28-foot wrench over their door, and they say, go nuts over our bolts. Absolutely. All the customers, they wish you a very Merry Christmas from AMI in Burley. Along with Clark's for Shopping up there in Oakley. Hello, great family business, 100 East Main in Oakley, with that very famous sausage from Grandma's Recipe, bulk patties and links. It's delicious, everything great at Clark's for Shopping in Oakley. And last but not least, Dot Foods at 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. They say Merry, Merry Christmas, and they say also thank you to the Mini-Cassia communities for all their support and for making Dot Foods the nation's largest food industry redistributor. And all of those businesses wish you a Merry Christmas. We've got Dave Bego coming up momentarily, and I want to remind you also about another great business, and I talked to Holly earlier this morning, as a matter of fact, at Hearts for Seniors, a wonderful, wonderful business that really wants seniors to stay at home and be able to fend for themselves with a little extra help. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. The number to call and find out more about seniors that want to stay at home but might need a little help with some daily tasks or maybe some meal preparation or maybe some light housekeeping, whatever it might be. Call today and find out more at 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Right now, without further ado, let's go to the phone line, and a very, very dear friend of mine in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I know that he is a great big Indianapolis Colts fan, and they're playing better football. Pardon me?
Have him call Dave back on that.
He's not there, Zeb.
What number did you call?
293.
No, it's 239. It's on the paper, 239.
239, okay, sorry.
Thank you. We'll have Dave Bego on the air in just a moment, and our dear friend back in Indianapolis. That'll give me just a little bit of time here to tell you that the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas will be Thursday, December 13th at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Christmas carols and music with Ashley Ludlow, and we're going to have Santa Claus there, and we're going to have a lot of prizes to give away, so we urge you to come down and say howdy to us. And I'm going to ask you to also contribute to Loot in the Boot for some of the needy families in our area. So please remember the old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller.
Well, I don't know. This is Dave Bego.
Well, my goodness sakes, we heard the moo of the cow and thought we had a call, but it's my dear buddy, Dave Bego back in Indianapolis. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing okay. I'm actually down in Florida where it's warm right now, and back in Indianapolis it's about 28 degrees.
Well, you know, Dave, I really am so glad you're on the air this morning because this is a historic day in America, and it's a national day of mourning for our 41st president, George Herbert Walker Bush. And after watching some of the preliminary television excerpts and stories leading up to this day of the funeral, it just makes you proud to be an American because we're seeing a lot of respect that I didn't think was there. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, I'm not surprised, and I've got to tell you and your audience, I've actually met him personally and had my picture taken with him, and got to talk to him, and also, I don't know if you heard on, I think it was on Fox News the other day, his a facility that he's got down there in Houston where he's got different offices, and he's got a replica of the Oval Office in the White House. And he actually took me in there and sent me down in the Oval Office at the President's desk and had my picture taken. I've got a copy of that picture in my office back in Indianapolis. And he was just a dear old fellow, and the reason I was down there is because there was a lady in Indianapolis, she was 103 years old at the time, and there's a guy in Indianapolis that put on this program called Never Too Late, and what it did is it helped older people to achieve one of the goals they wanted to achieve in life, and her goal was to meet President Bush, and she had problems. She couldn't walk. She had to use a walker and everything, and she couldn't fly on a corporate or on a regular jet. And so he called me. He knew I had my own plane, and I flew her down there and took her up to meet the president. And it was just great watching those two. And I got to tell you this story because it's pretty funny. When we walked in his office, her and I did. He was sitting behind his desk, and he got up and he had a cane, and he hobbled over. Of course, she had her walker, and she walked up next to him in front of him, and she threw her walker away and pushed his cane out of his hand. She says, "Let's dance, President."
What kind of a man is he and was he to make him so endeared today? I mean, what personality attributes did he have that a lot of the others don't?
Well, he's very professional in how he handles himself, and I think that's the big key, and very respectful, and he's low-key. He doesn't believe he needs to go out there and, really shout out at things and all that kind of stuff, and he's willing to work with people, on both sides of the aisle, and people that believe in different things that he believes in. He'll sit down and he'll talk about it, and that's the way it should be. I feel like I'm the same way. I may not always agree with people, but I'm willing to sit down with them and talk through it and work through it and see if there's a path to make things work. And he was just very good about that.
I know this is speculation, Dave, but I want to ask you this because you have met the man and you are very well versed in what's going on. But let's just speculate if he were president today, under the circumstances and the problems of today, how do you think he would fare with his philosophy and his personality?
I think he would do fine. I think that's the way you have to be. And as I've told people before, I think I've mentioned it on your show, is that one of the ways I beat the SEIU, I didn't go out there and throw out barbs at them or bad verbiage. I was always very professional and calm in how I presented things and exposed them. But I still had a firm stance. I wouldn't let them run over me or my people or my customers and other things. And I think George H.W. is the same way.
I am very happy to see something that took place last night that was heartwarming. I did not know that President Trump and his wife had never met George Bush 43 and his wife, and that took place last night with a cordial handshake and a little time to visit, etc. But it's not the same, I guess, this morning on the telecast showing the funeral with the Clintons and the Trumps, and it looks like a caller called in and said there was kind of a snubbing of the Clintons versus the Trumps at the funeral.
That's interesting. I didn't see that at all. I did see President Trump and his wife, go to the where he was laying in peace and stand by the and pray and stuff like that. And I thought that was really good. And Trump was very quiet and professional about that.
Yes, very much. Very much. I do want to ask you, though, I said first hour, and I'll stand behind my statement, that I sometimes wear my emotions on my sleeve. And when Robert Dole was brought in a wheelchair into the Capitol and to pay tribute to George Bush, and they had help and assistance in standing him up, 95 years of age, out of the wheelchair, and he took his left arm and snapped a salute to George Herbert Walker Bush. That really brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, it's good to see people do that, and as people get older in that, and it's like I say, this gal that I flew down to Texas, to Houston, to take up to see George H.W. She was. It was so great to see her get up and she wanted. The reason that she threw her walker over and wanted to dance with him because she respected him so much. And after we sat down and talked, I mean, she was so nice to him, and it's unbelievable. And we need people at all ages, not just older people. They're being great images for us of what people should be like, and this is what we need in this country.
And speaking of what we need in this country, 11-year-old Boy Scout went through the line in his Boy Scout uniform, stopped at the casket, snapped to attention, and saluted the casket for over 1 full minute of not moving in any way, shape, or form. And when I saw that, I thought, God bless his grandparents, his parents, and himself. There is a young man that we can rely on for a better American future.
Well, that's exactly right, and it's kind of sad because there's people, and a lot of the young millennials out there, and I'll give you an example. I was at a small restaurant for dinner last night, and the gal that was the receptionist, she was a high school gal, a nice gal, and did everything, but my table was close to where the receptionist desk was, and her and I got to talking, and she wanted to know about my past, and I told her, because she's looking at going to college and everything, and everything that I've gone through and done, and I told her about my books, and she kind of looked at me funny, and I said, well, are you conservative? She says, no. I said, do you like President Trump? She says, no. She says, no, I don't like the way he acts. And too many of the younger people today that are being brought up in our education system are being brainwashed, and they're not taking a step back and realizing what good things like President Trump does and George H.W. has done and all that, and that's sad. We really need Americans to do that, and I'm glad to hear this Boy Scout did that.
Do you feel, Dave, when you travel around the country, that today more so than before, more people are looking at the R or the D next to people's names, Republican or Democrat, and not really evaluating the person, but automatically hating or disliking the person because of their party affiliation?
Well, I think that's going on because the far left is putting these people up to it and brainwashing them, and all the attacks that we saw during this past election, and on the judge, Supreme Court judge being, approved and all that kind of stuff. They're doing this on purpose, and they're putting lies in these people's heads. That Republicans are bad people and all this. But I have to say to you, on the other side, I've talked to Democrats and even spoke to a gentleman last week that he's tired of the Democrats putting up with the far left, and that we need to get back to a country. It's okay that we have people of different beliefs and different sides of the aisle, but we can't have obstruction and attacks like we're having today. And I think there's a lot of Democrats that are getting tired of the far left.
And I think you bring up a very solid point to be discussed this morning, and I have called numerous people in Washington, D.C., New York, all across the country. The division of the Democratic Party, I think there are many, many Democrats that realize they cannot keep chasing this story of impeach Trump, hate Trump, do all you can to slow Trump down, be nay, nay, nay on every vote. I think they realize the American public is fed up with that. But when you have California, Adam Schiff, and others like him, that the only reason that they want to stay in power is because they want to go after Trump and just blast him out of the presidency in the Oval Office, this hatred, I think, is going to come back to hurt the Democrats in the future.
Well, I do too. I think people are slowly waking up, but my biggest concern is the younger kids and the millennials and that, because they've been brainwashed in high school and college and even grade school, and we got to wake them up to what's going on, and so they understand that the truth is, and I'll say it again because this is the case, these people want to turn us into a socialistic, communistic country, and so they can control us, because that's what that's all about, control.
And when you look at the Mueller investigation, to which the Democrats are trying to hang their hat on, oh boy, we're going to create a crime and we're going to get somebody hung, figuratively. This thing is not going the way they wanted, because Michael Flynn, the former National Security Advisor, after all the money spent and his filing bankruptcy and losing his home and everything else, now he's not even going to get possible jail time, and it looks so minimal. This whole investigation just reeks of really not having anything to stand on.
Yeah, and that's sad. This is what the left does. They go in, they dig in all these things, and they throw all this garbage out there that's not true. And they try to make people look bad based on insinuations that don't have any fact behind them. Again, the SEIU tried to do that with us, and they did not succeed because we wouldn't let them. And I don't know if I told you, but last week I spoke to a guy that runs the California Policy Center, which is really fighting, and they've got lawsuits against the unions out there because, they're with this Janus ruling here a couple months ago. The unions are trying to force people to continue to pay dues and everything. And they're intimidating them, threatening them, and lying to them, and all that kind of stuff. Same type of tactics. And he found out about my book, and he says, "Dave, I got to read your book." He says, "What I saw on your website and your blogs, you're spot on."
Well, you are spot on, and I'm very honored to have you on my program every week. And one quick thing that I want you to talk about, the border situation in Tijuana, and we know that it's going to probably inflame itself at other border point locations. They're not going to quit. The left isn't going to quit pushing these people up to the border and seeing if they can't get an open door policy. What are your thoughts on maybe some curtailment of the problem like in Tijuana?
Well, even the Mexican government in Tijuana is getting tired of this stuff, and there are people that are heading back to Honduras and other places and that, and I think we have to continue to provide a strong border group that keeps people from coming in, and we're not going to put up with it, and keep pushing that forward, and because we are a nation of laws, we're a sovereign nation, and if people want to come to this country, that's fine, but they got to do it through the legal process, and we got to make sure that that happens.
Okay, I've been waiting and not really wanting to say this next part of our conversation, but you win. I have now, for the rest of the year, turned into an Indy Colts fan. My Green Bay Packers have met their demise for the season. They are like toast. All they need is the butter, and you ended up the top man.
Well, I appreciate that, although the Colts, they lost to the Jaguars this weekend. They didn't even score a touchdown.
I know it.
Believe it. I don't know what happened on that. I didn't get to see the game because I was on the run all day long, but it's pretty sad. But hopefully they'll come back. I do like their coach, and with the quarterback we have, I think there's a good opportunity, and I think we'll make it to the playoffs. I really do.
Well, I hope you do, because I had a good friend of mine in Indianapolis send me a Indy Colts jersey, and I promise I will wear it from here on out the rest of the season on Sunday's games.
Well, that's great. We'd like to see a picture of you in it.
I'll send you one, just to prove that I do. Okay, Dave Biko, God bless you, down in Florida today, and we look forward to having him on every week. Dave, God bless you and your family, and Merry Christmas.
Well, God bless you and your family, and Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. One of my dear, dear friends right there, Dave Biko, very astute political analyst and author, and we're glad to have him on the program. Don't forget Four Paws Christmas Party, Four Paws Bed and Bath. This is the neat deal, really. I mean, it's going to be Saturday, December 15th from 12 to 2 at Four Paws Bed and Bath at 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. Number to call to find out more, 438-4444. Bring your pets over to a pet Christmas party at Four Paws, and you can get your free picture taken with Santa Claus. I urge I said this the other day, take your Dobermans and your St. Bernards, set them up on Santa's lap. Oh, that'll be fun. And there's going to be free food for everybody, and you can spin the wheel to win prizes. It's going to be a lot of fun at Four Paws Bed and Bath Christmas Party, Saturday, December 15th from 12 to 2. Don't you miss it. That's going to be a wild deal. Also want to say thank you very much to Joel Heward and his family and his staff at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. They really care about you and your family. And when there's a passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you with the utmost high ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. So remember to please call them at 436-5636. I'll repeat that number, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really nice people. Wow, in just a few minutes, we're going to have another great interview with one of my favorite guests. Dr. Michael Busler is going to be on the program. But before we go to the phone line and get him on, I've got to tell you, we've had a lot of calls over this great big third annual bred cow sale at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard next Monday, December 10th at 11 a.m. Now, don't confuse it. I had a couple of people that were confused. They're going to have their regular sale tomorrow, and then Monday they're going to have the third annual bred cow sale. Over 1,200 really good quality cows and heifers, top genetics, mostly actually one iron cattle. And, boy, I'm telling you, if you're looking to start your herd, enhance your herd, whatever, this is going to be the sale for you. Contact Cade Rogge at 431-0074 or call the Burley Livestock Sale Yard number 678-9411. Cattlemen, this is the sale you don't want to miss on Monday, December 10th at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Absolutely. And just a moment, our dear friend, Dr. Michael Bustler, and Deanne came running in a few minutes ago, and she said, did you throw the newspaper away today? And I said, yeah. Well, we happened to find it. And there is the information I was looking for our dear friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. My goodness sakes, Jeff Bronson and the crew. They say, and it's true, this is Santa's favorite place to shop. They've got the greatest savings, the best values on everything for your home, like dining room sets. Dining room sets are 40% off, and they've got great prices on sofas, and they've got all the chairside tables, they've got everything, all your flooring. Wow. Why don't you stop in and see them today? They are a great place for your Christmas shopping. That's Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. I was trying to fold up the newspaper at the same time, and I didn't get it done. All right, let's go to the phone line, and let's see if we have our friend with us. Dr. Michael Bustler, good morning, sir, and Merry Christmas to you.
Well, thank you, Zeb. Merry Christmas to you, and it's my pleasure to be here.
What's going on back in New Jersey? It's either doggone hot back in New Jersey or doggone cold. What is it?
We're on the doggone cold side. I live along the Jersey Shore, and we happen to be getting snow right now.
Ooh, along the Jersey Shore, and I'm trying to think, there's a place where one of my roommates from college lives, and it's something River, New Jersey, and I can't remember the first name of the city.
Could be Bass River.
No, it's another one.
Bass River's a place. There's a Red River. Also in northern part of the state.
That might be
we're
it.
Getting some snow here today.
Well, I really wanted you on the program this morning for the reason that I find your attitude and your personality and your knowledge about what's really going on with our economy I really respect, and I wanted to have you on the air. I wanted to talk to you, first of all, about what I would call a knife in the back. And when I say that, I'm talking about General Motors basically knifing the United States in the back after they had so much of a bailout money, over $50 billion, and now they're cutting their workers and they're cutting locations. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They went in 2010. Both General Motors and Chrysler filed for bankruptcy. Normally, what would happen in a situation like that, the company would go out of business, they'd liquidate their assets, another car company or perhaps some venture capitalist would purchase the assets at a lower price, restart production there under another car company's name. The Obama administration deemed both General Motors and Chrysler too big to fail. So you're absolutely right. General Motors did go bankrupt. They started a new corporation. The American taxpayers bought $51 billion worth of stock to keep the new General Motors started up and in business. They did eventually sell that stock, and they sold it for about $40 billion. So they had about an $11 billion loss. It got worse with Chrysler. Chrysler managed to stay in business, but then Fiat bought 53% ownership, and now Chrysler is essentially an Italian company. In fact, they're called Fiat Chrysler now. So with regards to General Motors, they were a little slow to see that the vehicle market in the U.S. has been changing for the last couple of years and will change more into the future. In that, historically, most of the vehicles made are cars, and the rest are pickup trucks, vans, SUVs, crossovers, etc. Last year, the percentage of vehicles that were cars are only 30% of the total, and the rest were SUVs, crossover, pickup trucks, etc. Now, Ford has recognized this as a trend into the future. They've said they're not going to make cars anymore after 2019, except I think the Mustang and one of their electric vehicles. Chrysler has gotten out, essentially, of the car business, and they'll have Fiats now to sell, which, of course, are not made in the U.S. But General Motors was very slow to see this. They finally recognized it, and they said, look, there are 6 plants in North America, 4 in the U.S., that employ about 15,000 workers that make cars, and we can't make cars anymore. So they're shutting those plants down and laying off those 15,000 people. Now, normally we'd get upset about it, but not real upset. But this time, the taxpayers are saying, wait a minute, we lost $11 billion to keep you in business, and now you're closing U.S. plants and putting those 14,000 tax-paying Americans out of business, and you're going to make your electric cars outside of the country. Well, that really is a cold slap in the face to us. You know, why did we save you in the first place if you're only going to sort of throw our workers under the bus here?
Dr. Bussler, I want you to know right up front that when it comes to electric cars, you are talking to a person that has nothing but animosity, hate, and fear for the electric car industry, and I'll explain why quickly. We have an overtaxed electric grid already, with the Democrats and the left, including the proponents of what Obama tried to put through his administration, of cutting back on anything with fossil fuels and trying to go strictly with solar and wind. So to say that we're going to create an electric car industry which is going to further tax an electric grid and hurt the American public, I think that's an absolute waste of money and time. Your thoughts?
Well, there are a lot of people that share that view. The primary concern of the proponents of the electric car industry, the primary concern is the environment. And they say, and it is, electric cars are less harmful to the environment than the fossil fuel, the gas-burning cars. Although, to produce the electricity, there still is some harm to the environment doing that, unless what Obama wanted to do was make all produce electricity through solar and wind, and that's not harmful to the environment. The problem is it's much more expensive right now to produce energy by those methods, and I don't know if we can get to the point where we can produce enough electricity by those methods.
Yeah.
So you're right to be a little skeptical about the federal government pushing onto consumers electric cars, and they're using taxpayer money to do that because the federal government still gives a $7,500 rebate, which means that, again, the taxpayers pay that, to encourage people to buy electric cars. That's not the way the marketplace is supposed to work. The market will determine the best cars for the market, and it's a very democratic process the way it's done. You can consider every time you buy a car, you can consider that you're casting a dollar vote for that car company. And, of course, the companies with the most dollar votes have sold the most cars. They're the ones that stay in business. The companies that don't receive many dollar votes and therefore have losses, they go out of business. So in that aspect, the consumer really controls what comes to the market, as it should be. You should be making products that are what the consumer wants, not what somebody in Washington sits there and says, I think this is what the consumer should have.
We have a caller with a question. I'm going to ask the caller's indulgence just for a second because I want you to respond and give me a short answer on this, Dr. Bussler. It's all well and good, but when you start reading and seeing about the problems with electric cars and the what to do with the electric car batteries, we are not talking about a very environmentally friendly issue. They don't know how to dispose of these batteries. They don't know how to handle these batteries. And now that GM is going to China to have the building of these cars and batteries, that scares me all the more.
You're exactly right. Disposing of these batteries is going to be a significant problem. And why is General Motors making these cars in electric cars in China when they have 4 plants here they're about to shut down? So I agree with you completely.
Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Zeb.
my concern with electric cars is not only just the disposal of the battery, but the disposal of the car in itself. I've watched numerous videos on the Tesla car that caught fire, and the amount of poisonous gases that it spewed out coming from the fire, that it was extremely toxic. And not only that, once they got it able to put the fire out, they had to cut the cable on the batteries to get the dang arc to stop. In the meantime, you got all this toxic material going out on the ground, battery acid or whatever else. They didn't even bother to look at that part of it. They just look at it, the fossil fuels being a pollutant, but they don't look at the battery acid and all that other kind of lead and everything else in them cars. So I'll let you go.
Dr. Bustler, respond to the caller, please.
The caller is exactly right. This narrative and the whole electric car industry is being pushed onto the American public, and all of those other problems that the caller correctly mentioned have been sort of pushed under the rug. Well, we'll worry about that later. Let's get the electric cars out. The people in Washington feel that that's best for the American public, and they know better what the American public has than the public knows themselves. So they're trying to push this. Any negative aspects, and all of those that were mentioned are negative aspects, have kind of been pushed under the rug, and we'll deal with those later. So I agree with the caller completely.
Dr. Bustler, we have an energy program in this country to where we have been blessed with an overabundance of coal. The experts, so-called experts, can't even give us an estimate of how much coal we really have. We have oil. We have the fossil fuels. We have the new scientific education to make sure that we're not polluting our atmosphere. Why? Why in the world can't we remain the richest energy country in the world and keep the costs down for consumers and contribute more money to the economy? Why are we so hell-bent to be dumb and try to go with solar and wind?
Because somebody is trying to push a political agenda that they believe, and this was the entire problem with the prior administration. Instead of concentrating on what should be done right economically to grow the economy and get everybody working again and get incomes up, instead of doing that, the prior administration concentrated on curing perceived social injustices. It's an injustice everybody doesn't have health care. It's an injustice CEOs make so much money. It's also an injustice that big car companies who make a lot of money are polluting the air, and we're not going to let that happen. So we're going to come up with something else so that the car companies can't push these kind of cars, and that the energy industry will start producing energy that we believe is more of a socially good for the people rather than what is economically good for the people. And you're right. We have abundance amounts of energy, and we're finding more now that President Trump has allowed drilling up in Alaska. The Keystone Pipeline has been approved, although I think there's another monkey wrench thrown in there, but that's been approved, and that will allow more oil to be produced and refined. We found a lot of natural gas. They fought us on fracking for years. Now that fracking has come online, there's much more energy being produced. We are now a net exporter of energy rather than an importer. We're no longer dependent politically or economically on OPEC countries. We can produce all of our own needs. That's going to make us stronger economically and stronger from a political sense.
Absolutely.
Start focusing on what the American people want and provide what they want rather than what some bureaucrat says is a social injustice that we have to cure.
Amen. Very well stated. We have another caller with a question. Quickly, caller. I'm almost out of time. Go, please.
How much pollution is created to manufacture windmills, manufacture solar panels, and to manufacture electric cars?
That's a good question. Dr. Bustler, please.
I missed the beginning of it. What did he say?
She was asking about how much pollution is created by the manufacturing of these wind turbines and the solar panels and everything else. It's kind of a double-edged sword, is it not?
It certainly is. And nobody is measuring that because that would go against the rhetoric that's being put out by the bureaucrats who favor the electric car industry. But you're right. When we make any changes like that, we have to consider the entire picture, not just looking at one phase of it. At some point, I'm hopeful that maybe the current administration will take a more of a comprehensive look at some of these things and stop pushing on people what people don't want.
I called my investment advisor the other day, and we had a very spirited, in other words, very nervous and scared conversation about the stock market, about my stocks, my investments, etc. What are your thoughts? Should I be nervous and ready to jump off the cliff, or what should I do?
If I were you, I wouldn't look at the stock market. The funds you have in there, most likely you're looking at some long-term purchase or perhaps retirement. Over the course of time, the stock market will do very well. I don't know why investors are overreacting every time the president says a word they like or don't like. If the president says, I think we can come up with an agreement with China, stock market shoots up 600 points. If he says the next day, well, I'm not so sure we can come up with this, the stock market drops 800 points. Everybody should just take a deep breath and exhale. President Trump has a plan for this. The idea, he wants to be a free trader. He wants to bring all of our trading partners to the table to renegotiate these lopsided deals where the trading partners are treated favorably and the U.S., they're all to the detriment of the U.S. To get everybody to come to the table, a business person, remember he's not a politician, President Trump, he's a business person. A business person creates a sense of urgency. Otherwise, the politicians would negotiate with this for years, kick the can down the road, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. President Trump, being a business person, knows a problem has to be solved today, not years in the future. He creates a sense of urgency by putting on tariffs on everybody. He's created that sense of urgency. Mexico and Canada have already agreed to something. The European Union says we're going to work towards zero tariffs in the future. South Korea we have an agreement with. We're working with Japan. And to everybody's shock, China has come to the table and started to negotiate. Now, this is not going to be an easy negotiation. It's going to take, he's pushed out the deadline 90 days. It's likely to take a little longer than that. But the point is, they're at the table, and when we're all done, foreign markets will now be open to U.S. manufacturers where that wasn't the case before. Car made in China, we charge a 2.5% tariff. Car made in the U.S. sold in China, they charge a 25% tariff. No wonder their markets are closed to us. Trump wants to fix that. Don't worry about the stock market day to day. If it bothers you to see these big numbers, don't even look at them because in 2 or 3 days they'll be much different. So I wouldn't worry about the stock market. I'm keeping my money in the stock market, and I'm very confident about what's going to happen in the future.
So your suggestion to me out here in Idaho would be to go to the grocery store, buy another can of deodorant, sit down, and relax.
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Bustler, I really appreciate you on the program. I just wish we had more time. This gentleman is a public policy analyst, economics expert, and professor of finance at Stockton University, and his students are lucky to have him, I would say. And Dr. Michael Bustler, I wish to you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, Zeb. I wish you a Merry Christmas, too, and thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure to be here with you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. I really enjoy having him on my program, Dr. Michael Bustler, back in New Jersey. And we'll have him back. Believe me, he's the best. Oh, my. Right now, I've got to remind everybody about Let's Ride. Oh, boy. They look up at the hills and they say, see that angel dandruff? Well, get the snowmobiles and away we go. And all the snowmobiles are right there on display at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. I mean, get over there. Treat yourself with a great Christmas present, a brand new snowmobile, and head for the hills. They've got all the accessories, and they've got a great service department. Oh, and by the way, they've got the snow plows for the four-wheelers. I bought one a couple of years ago, and man, I I thought I'd never say this, but I'm looking forward to it to snow so I can go out and plow my driveway. Anyway, don't forget they've got it all right there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it's true, this is where the fun is sold. Right now, I also want to acknowledge that over in that same area, on Highway 24 going into Rupert, our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, they really care about protecting you, your family, and your business. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs, so please remember to give them a call, make an appointment, let them go over everything to make sure you're covered adequately. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. I'm running late on a weather forecast. Old Sean's sitting over there drumming his fingers on the table going, Zeb, I'm a-coming. Don't forget that our weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. They are the best at what they do, very personable people, professional people serving you. I urge you, by the way, to get your tax records all ready for the end of the year. Oh, my, don't put it off. We're getting closer every day, and they can help and they will help with offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not much precipitation is in the forecast for the rest of this week, but it does feel like winter. Here's a look at your weather forecast for us at the ranch. We're expecting mostly cloudy skies today. A slight breeze out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour and a high of 27. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low right around 10. Leave those faucets on a trickle so you don't have freezing pipes. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies, expecting a high of 28. Wind chill values as low as 0. Winds out of the east-northeast right around 7 miles an hour. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 16. By Friday, mostly sunny and 30. And as we look at the weekend, looks like mostly sunny skies for Saturday, high of 32, and mostly sunny and 33 for Sunday. That's your weather. We're Zeb at the ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. She is good at putting together all the facts and figures for our program. We appreciate it. And, of course, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company can help you with your tax return preparation, retirement planning, business consulting, all of this and so much more, with offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Thank you. Oh, my. Let's see what else have we got here. Again, a reminder that next Thursday we're going to have the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas at Denny's, a great restaurant, America's Diner, at 611 North Overland in Burley. And it's going to be Thursday, December 13th, and we're going to be broadcasting live and direct over there with a remote broadcast for the 3 hours of my program. We're going to have Christmas carols, Christmas music with Ashley Ludlow, wonderful lady. Santa Claus is going to fly in. We're going to have Loot in the Boot to help the needy families, and all of this is at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner, next Thursday. Okay, what else have we got cooking? I'm really looking forward to next hour having a gentleman that wrote a book called Consider the Evidence. He is a lawyer and an author. His name is Daniel Buttafuoco from back east, and it's in regards to the Bible. And it's really going to be interesting. Then at 10:30 this morning, one of my favorite guests, Dr. Gregory Wrightstone, and we're going to be talking about the absolute incompetency and idiocy of those that are absolutely bending over backwards to support climate change and global warming. We're going to talk about that. Another reminder of Merry Christmas wishes. I've got to get my form over here, my sheet, to make sure that I've got all the right people. Here we go, Nature Nursery at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley. They've got all the home decor items, fresh cut trees, and by the way, they can flock your tree too if you'd like. The outdoor lights, they've got everything over there at Nature Nursery. It's a really neat business at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Along with Rogge Auction, we had old Kate on the phone the other day. Ron, Sean, Kate, Jed, the whole crew. Great auctioneers. If you're selling your farm or farm equipment, remember to call them at 431-0074. They wish you a very Merry Christmas. Along also with my old buddy, and I mean this, he's always calling in every day. Great fan of the program. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Hayburn. And he says, remember the real meaning of the season. And he also says, support those senior centers. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair in Hayburn, wishing you and yours Merry, Merry Christmas. Wow. We got time for a quick call. If you want to give me a jingle on the landline, I'd love to hear from you at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Let's see, I was going to tell you a little bit. We were talking about the funeral and the Mueller investigation. It looks like this might be coming to a head. We hope so. And we mentioned the other day on the air that we had one of the so-called litigants involved with the Mueller investigation. Jerome Corsi was on our program earlier this spring on a couple of occasions. But it looks like when you have the National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, and they bankrupted this poor man. I mean, they twisted everything up, and they made him forced into a sale of his home, all of his finances, everything's gone. He is completely down at the bottom of the barrel right now. And after all the investigation, it looks like the Mueller investigation is going to recommend not even a smidgen of jail time, and very possibly not even a fine. Now, if that is the National Security Advisor, what about the others? And I dare say all of the millions, I'm just going to stick my neck out here and say all the millions and millions of dollars involved in this Mueller investigation only to appease the Democrats and their absolute hatred of Donald Trump and this administration. I don't think they're going to find one darn thing. We'll see what happens. Once again, coming up next hour, we've got Daniel Buttafuoco and Dr. Gregory Wrightstone. And on behalf of Deanne and I, we always want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We got a lot of things cooking over the next couple of weeks, including on the 20th. We're going to have kind of our open house over here on December 20th, where we have people coming by and coming in the studio and saying hello and wishing all kinds of Merry Christmas wishes to their friends and neighbor and family. So all those things coming up. I love this time of the year. So to you and yours, a Merry Christmas. And right now we're going to send it back over to Sean to take us up to CBS News. Oh, good morning, good morning. Outside, it's cold out here. Let me take a look and see what I've got outside my window right now here at the ranch as I'm trying to get it up. And wow, 18? Holy moly, it's cold. I don't think that's right. Maybe that little telephone reading is off. I hope. Chilly outside. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And don't forget, service, the key word. You stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We've got some Merry Christmas wishes right now from our friends at Searles up in Oakley at 120 North Center Street. Don't forget the best of gas, grub, and goodies. And the store opens at 6 in the morning, stays open till 9 at night. And they've got those delicious specialty buns, baked fresh every day. Searles wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Along with Kelly's Bearings at 1407 East Main in Burley. They say, hey, listen, you'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. Don't forget bearings, chains, brackets, everything. Kelly's Bearings in Burley wishing you a Merry Christmas. Along with our friends at Dixon Oil Company. These are really, really good people. Gas, oil, and propane. Daryl and the whole crew at Dixon Oil, they sit back and they say, yep, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Dixon Oil in Rupert. Right now, let's go to the phone line. I have been waiting to have this man on the phone and an interview with him for quite some time. He is the author of the book called Consider the Evidence. And we say good morning morning to a trial lawyer by the name of Daniel Buttafuoco. Good morning, Daniel. How are you?
Thank you, Zeb, for having me on the show. God bless you.
Well, I appreciate it. I guess what I'd like to have you do first and foremost is give us kind of a thumbnail sketch from the beginning to the end of this book, Consider the Evidence, talking about the New Testament in the Bible. Go ahead, please.
Well, first of all, you know it's getting pretty desperate out there when God is using accident trial lawyers to bring the gospel to people. That's sort of an interesting point I like to make. You know, I get up in churches and I speak about, apologetics, and they're sort of surprised to see, a trial lawyer. I'm one of a group that's often vilified. Trial lawyers, those are bad people. Well, anyway, trial lawyers have a certain skill set, and what I did with that skill set is I applied it to the New Testament and to some arguments that have been around for centuries regarding why we believe the Bible is the Word of God. And I sort of did a connect-the-dots kind of book in which I sort of tried to weave in one giant summation, if you will, why we believe that the Bible, the New Testament specifically, is the Word of God. Why do we believe the Christian faith? We have to have reasons for why we believe what we believe. There's no reason to believe anything except if it's true, and there are good reasons why we believe that. Now, this stuff has been around for a while, but I tried to do it in a way that made it an easy read, something someone could read on the train on the way to work or in a couple of nights sitting at home after dinner, so that they can pick up some basic reasons for, why they accept the Bible as the Word of God, why they believe the biblical narrative, or what it talks about Jesus and the early church.
Daniel, when I look at the situation, and I am a very devout Christian, and I'm very proud of it, and I will never back up from anything on this program regarding my faith. We're going into the holy season with the birth of Jesus Christ and Christmas time, and why do you think that there seems to be in the last 10 to 15 years more of an attack and an assault on Christianity and belief in the Bible? Why do you think there's more of an attack?
Well, the obvious reason is because Christianity is the only religion that claims really exclusive. Well, I wouldn't say the only religion, but it claims that Jesus is the only way to God. When you claim that type of exclusivity, you invite an attack from other people. And I was just reading something from John MacArthur where he said, if Christianity that is not offensive is not Christianity at all. The gospel has offense. The Bible even says in the New Testament that it's to the Jew a stumbling block, and to the Greek foolishness. The gospel, even though it's a message of hope and forgiveness, if for some reason when you preach it, it makes people want to kill you, and I suspect that's because they are at odds with the teaching of the Bible. Their lives don't measure up to the Bible. By the way, none of ours do. And instead of accepting the provision that God gave for us, which is for total and complete forgiveness, because He took the penalty for us, what people end up doing is they kick or push back against it, and they don't want to be told that they need a Savior. It goes back to the Roger Daltrey song from the 70s, I don't need to be forgiven.
Yeah.
Well, I beg to differ.
Yeah.
We do need to be forgiven. We do need a Savior. And I, for one, am very glad what Christ did for us. I think that's the most important event that ever happened in the history of the world, the crucifixion and the resurrection.
Absolutely.
So, when people hear that message, for some reason, it invites a lot of criticism. And we're also easy targets because Christians are pacifists. We're not like the Muslims. You say anything about the Prophet Muhammad, people want to kill you. And they do kill you. But if you say anything about Jesus Christ, in fact, Jesus is regularly used as a curse word, and people just, don't say anything. They don't even respond. So I think that Christians are easy targets, and I also think there's a spiritual element. There's a demonic element in that, in which the devil does not like the gospel, and he riles up people to go crazy when they hear it.
Let me ask you this, Daniel, and this is kind of a vague question because I'm sitting here trying to put myself in your shoes. How and why did you want to write a book about considering the evidence of the truth of the New Testament? And how did you go about this? I mean, it's not an easy task, is it?
Well, the heavy lifting has been done by scholars that have gone before us, so I wouldn't say it was such a monumental task. But really, it's sort of part of my life journey. About 20 years ago, I had a debate with a fellow lawyer who's a friend of mine at a cocktail party, and we were sitting on his deck, and it turned out that my my brother was marrying his sister-in-law, and we started talking, and the party immediately split into two because he was an atheist, and he was defending the atheist position. I was a Christian defending the Christian position, and each side was being cheered on by the respective onlookers. And when I left that party, I said to myself, I know I'm a good lawyer. I know I have ability to present evidence and to present good arguments and to communicate. I said, but when I left that party, I felt like I didn't really do a great job. Like I really didn't justify in a good way, from a legal point of view, why I believed what I believed. And so I actually felt that I was disappointed in myself because I felt like I did a better job for clients than I did for Christ. So I started to study and actually went and got a master's degree in theology, and I studied apologetics under Ravi Zacharias, and I started to read books. And as I started to compile all this evidence that really does exist for why we believe the Christian faith, I started to bring some of these arguments to bear in our discussions. And recently my friend, who's still a very good friend of mine, said, you just about demolished every one of my arguments. He says, I don't really have anything left. And so he's still not a believer because only God can give faith, but at least I've removed all the objections to the gospel. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. When you hear the moo of a cow on my program, it means that we have a telephone call. Caller, go ahead, please, with your comment, quickly.
Well, I have studied Ravi Zacharias, and he might be the most intelligent, intellectual Christian on the face of the earth at this point. And he says why Christianity is really the only religion that there was a Christ, and Christianity is the way back. And it's amazing. And you want people to study and learn and know better. And we're in a world where we have cell phones and we can ask it just about anything, but we know nothing. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Daniel.
Well, I agree. Ravi's a very intelligent man. He's a friend of mine. He actually wrote the foreword to the book. And, I'm not exactly sure what the caller was asking, but I do believe that we need to take those cell phones that we have in our hands and start putting them to some good use besides looking at cat videos or other things that are a little more nefarious that we shouldn't be looking at.
Amen.
We should protect our eyes from that. But more importantly, let's put those computers and cell phones to some good work and good use and do some research for why we believe the faith. I mean, when I was 3 or 4 years old, my mother handed me a Bible and said, it's the Word of God, and I took her word for it. What did I know at 3 or 4 years old? She happened to be right, but she never went to college, and she couldn't argue. She couldn't give any real reasons for why she believed it other than she intuitively had it right. My mother's intuitive in that way. She's still alive, and she's a very wise woman, but she's not educated. And I think today people need more than just intuition. We go to these churches, and you see what Christianity has become. It's become a big emotional sort of thing where people go into church and they feel welcome. They feel like the Spirit of God. They don't really know what it is. They like the music. They put their hands in the air, and they get swayed by emotion. But if you actually were to ask them why they believe it to be true, why do they actually believe in Christ, why do they believe in the resurrection, I don't think more than a handful of people in most churches could give you a serious and intelligent answer. Well, that doesn't mean they're stupid. It just means they're not bothering to learn, not know this stuff. Christianity has been reduced to an emotional exercise. But, the Bible says that we ought to love God with all our heart, our soul, our mind, and our strength, right? So we need to engage the mind. And, I'm not saying everyone has the time to go out and research these things, but I try to put it in a nice package. That's why I wrote the book, Consider the Evidence. I try to boil it down and give it in a summation, because my skill set is to take these complex subjects and break it down to jurors' levels so that they can understand whether it's medicine, I'm an injury lawyer, malpractice, whether it's engineering, or in this case, theology and apologetics. I'm trying to give them enough so that they can make a decision. Consider the evidence. It's what we tell every juror in every courtroom. Consider the evidence you're about to hear. You don't need to be a lawyer or a doctor to decide a malpractice case. You just need to have common sense, and you need to look at the evidence. So I'm giving you the evidence.
Daniel, let me ask you this. When you were writing the book and doing your research and coming up with a rough draft and everything, did you have kind of a wow moment? A wow, I didn't know that, or wow, that really helped my faith? Was there something in writing this book that really kind of hit you right between the eyes?
Yeah, I had a lot of wow moments, when I realized how strong the evidence is for the Christian faith. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need faith, You certainly need faith to believe that dead people come back to life and that blind eyes suddenly see. That takes faith. But you don't need faith to believe that John was at the crucifixion and he saw what he saw and wrote what he wrote. You don't need faith to believe that Luke interviewed the eyewitnesses or that Luke was part of the early church movement, because he says, we went here and we went there. And the Bible reads, the New Testament especially, reads like an eyewitness account. It's clearly historical. Differs it from every other faith on the planet. You read the so-called scriptures of other religions, they read like fairy tales. And, it took them centuries to develop this legendary status of a holy writing. The Bible's not that way. When Paul wrote scripture, Peter considered his writing scripture while Paul was still alive. You really can't say that about any other faith. And as far as Judaism goes, Judaism really is the foundation for Christianity. All the original Christians were Jews. All of the writers of the Bible, except Luke, were Jews. And so, Judaism and Christianity are really the only two religions on the planet that are grounded and rooted in historical truth, in actual facts that happened. And the other thing about the Bible that differs it from, say, the Quran is the Quran was written by one person. Everything hangs on Muhammad. If he was right, then he's right. If he was wrong, the whole faith crumbles. The Bible was written by 40 different people over 1,500 years. And it's not one witness. It's 66 separate books. And it's every walk of life represented. Kings, paupers, fishermen, prophets, you name it. And so when you start to really break down the Bible into really what it is, you realize it stands head and shoulders above every single other religion in the whole world.
Let me ask you this question. When you started your research on the New Testament and trying to come up with the finalization of Consider the Evidence, how did you do it? Did you go into each chapter of the Bible, whether it was Matthew or whether it was Mark or Romans, whatever? How did you go about coming up with the final outcome for your book?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, I was very familiar with the Bible, having read it since I'm a little kid. I have large portions of it memorized. I mean, I was the president of a Christian school. I mean, I've been a Sunday school teacher. I've spoken in churches. I was a church elder. I grew up, the Bible was probably the first thing I ever read, probably the first words I ever spoke, right? So knowing the Bible wasn't the issue. I sort of know the Bible really, really well, and it's part of the fabric of what I am and who I am. What I did research were, great minds of people who actually had analyzed and sifted through this stuff, what we would call apologetics, and I urge every Christian listening to me to get involved in apologetics. If we want this faith to move forward, if we want to reclaim the moral high ground in society, if we want to get back some of our, wonderful and cherished liberties, we better start acting like Christians, and we better know why we believe this stuff. Because the average person can't give an intelligent answer to the person sitting in the cubicle next to them as to why they're a Christian. And that's very sad. 150 years ago, the pastor was the smartest guy in the room, if you ever went to any kind of gathering. He was the most educated. He knew this stuff inside and out. He regularly spoke about it. He regularly read about it. Sadly, today, the pastors aren't all that educated. I'm going to just say it the way it is. And a lot of them are just crowd pleasers. They don't want to preach the hard truth. They get up there and give people false hope. Tell them they're okay, don't want to call out sin, just sort of pat everyone on the back and say, you're doing great. And people are not getting fed. They don't even know what they believe. I've been to these churches. I go into some churches. I can't even believe it passes for church. But, this is the modern way. Everything is set up to, try to entice people to come in and like us. The Bible is never meant to be that way. The gospel's not meant to be that way. The gospel is offensive. Tells people they are sinners, they're going to hell, and they need to repent. Who wants to hear that? I don't want to hear it. Do you want to hear that? No. So let's have good reasons for why we're saying it. We should say it in love. How about, this is a problem you're going to have when you face the judge someday. Maybe you should know something about it before you make that appointment with your final destiny. Maybe you might want to go into that meeting with God knowing a little something rather than going in unprepared. You wouldn't go to a wedding naked, would you? I mean, come on, let's get this moving in the right direction. So Yeah, I'm sort of frustrated with the state of the church. I've been an elder for a long time, and I think that Christians and pastors are largely responsible for this. They need to start teaching their people truth, and they need to explain why they believe this stuff. So
absolutely,
how others to also go out and witness correctly.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I've got a couple of minutes left here, but we're going into, in 20 days, the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, our Savior, in Bethlehem. And I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, when you started delving into the Christmas story of the birth of Jesus, what revelation or what warm thoughts did you have as you studied that portion for your book?
One of the craziest things ever is when it dawned on me the realization that Jesus Christ can trace his lineage back to Adam. I mean, what other human being on the planet can we even say that about? Who can trace? I could barely trace my lineage back 4 generations. Jesus, we could trace his lineage on both sides, Mary's side and Joseph's side, legally and by nature, back to Adam. I mean, that's just incredible right there. And everybody just overlooks these genealogies. They're there for a reason. It's proof positive that Jesus was who he said he was. He was the Messiah. He was a Jew from the seed of woman who would crush the head of the serpent, and from the line of the tribe of Judah, from David, someone who'd sit on the throne forever. All of these specific prophecies that point to Christ are all outlined in exquisite detail in the Bible. And it's the strongest case possible for why we believe the Bible is the Word of God, because the future is predicted in detail centuries in advance. You really can't say that about any other writing.
From my standpoint, I would say this book, Consider the Evidence, is absolutely a great Christmas gift. That being said, where can my audience obtain your book?
Well, it's sold out on Amazon the first day, which I was sort of shocked about. I guess people want to read this. But it's restocked, so you can get it, of course, on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, and you can get it at ConsiderTheEvidenceBook.com, which is our website for the book. You can also get it at my foundation, Historical Bible Society .org. It's basically starting to show up everywhere, and I guess I'm getting a little nervous. I mean, wow, I wasn't really ready for this. I'm being interviewed, but I think people need this, and they want it, and I try to make it simple. I want people to consider the evidence. And so if you look up Dan Buttafuoco, my name is, I'm not related to the other more famous Buttafuoco, no relation, but spelled exactly the same. Nobody forgets me, Daniel Buttafuoco. I'm a lawyer. You can find me easily on the Internet, and from there you can find the book. And that's how we do it. And we just want to get the word out. It's not about making money. We do fine. We make plenty of money as lawyers. I've won a lot of cases. It's not about money. It's about helping people to know why they believe what they believe. And if enough Christians will get it and start giving it out, and maybe we could turn the tide of this decay that's going on in the society that we live in.
Absolutely. You've inspired me this morning. I've got to get a copy of this book, and when I read the book, I'm going to call to have you back on the program. Daniel Buttafuoco, I wish you the best with this book, and I extend this. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thanks for coming on my program.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot, and just pray for me. I love you guys.
Thank you very, very much. I can't wait to get this book. Really, I'm going to go to the store this afternoon and try to find it, or I'm going to order it. Consider the Evidence, Daniel Buttafuoco, and it's all about the reliability and honesty of the New Testament. Thank you very much. Wow. He was powerful. I enjoyed that. Okay, let's see where we are here. We've got more Merry Christmas wishes, and Merry Christmas from the Speaker of the House and Representative Scott Bedke from District 27, a rancher up in Oakley, and he's really been serving us well. Up in Boise during the legislative session, Scott Bedke says, from his house to yours, Merry, Merry Christmas. Along with Mountain Transmissions at 1146 East Main in Burley, Rick wishes everybody a Merry Christmas. They are your one-stop transmission repair facility, Mountain Transmissions in Burley. Don't forget that. And Pump Service with the Baker Boys, the Baker Brothers. I'm telling you what, they are so good. 103 West, 500 South in Burley, and they give you same-day service, and I can attest to that. They are good at what they do. Pump Service in Burley. And last but not least, Minnecasia Sales. If you need new flooring or doors or more, don't forget they've got low overhead that means lower prices for you. These are really nice people. Zach and the entire crew at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, and they all wish you a very Merry Christmas. Wow, I'm excited because next week on Thursday, we're going to pack all the equipment up, and I know our engineer Chris Dixon's going to be over there at Denny's restaurant, and we're going to have a live remote broadcast set up. And we're going to be broadcasting the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley next Thursday, December 13th. Now, we're going to have a lot of Christmas caroling and singing and great food, and we're going to have a lot of prizes to give away. Santa Claus is taking time out to zip down from the North Pole to be there, and we're going to have a great singer with Christmas carols and music, Ashley Ludlow. We're going to have Loot in the Boot to where you can help contribute to various needy families at Christmas time. It's going to be from 8 to 11 next Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. The old-fashioned Denny's Christmas. We're all going to get together like one great big family and have a lot of fun. December 13th at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't forget it, please. We want to see you there. Coming up next hour, really interesting individual and one of many of my stable of guests that I have on the air that are combating the idiocy of climate change and global warming. It's going to be Dr. Gregory Wrightstone coming up in a few moments. Don't miss it, but right now we're going to send it back over to Sean at our main studios.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, welcome back to our last half hour. We'll have our guest on momentarily. I want to remind you, next Monday, December 10th, a great big third annual bred cow sale at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Don't forget this is going to start at 11 a.m. sharp next Monday, December 10th. Over 1,200 good quality cows and heifers with top genetics. Don't forget mostly one-iron cattle, and they are the best coming into this sale. Call Kate Rogge for more information, 431-0074, or the Burley Livestock Office at 678-9411. Cattlemen, this is a sale you don't want to miss. Next Monday, third annual bred cow sale at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, Monday, December 10th at 11 a.m. Don't miss it. I am very fortunate to have many great people, knowledgeable people on various subjects on this program every day, and this man is one of those. And I'll say up front that I have been battling as a party of one on this program for a long time against the incompetency of climate change and global warming that I do not believe in. I think it's nothing more than a political movement for control of the masses of people, and this man is a climate contrarian, as he calls himself. Dr. Gregory Wrightstone, good morning, sir. It's nice to have you on the program. Is he there, son?
I don't have a doctorate. I've got a master's degree in geology.
Well, I'm going to call... You're much smarter than I am.
I appreciate the compliment, but I am a scientist, a geologist.
Mr. Wrightstone, let me ask you this. In my opinion, there has been over the last 18 months more of a concentrated effort, a full-court press, if you will, for the acceptance and adherence to various environmental policies against fossil fuels, etc. We saw it with the Paris Climate Accord. How bad is the situation right now?
Yeah. I think you're right. There is a full court press on. We just saw it here with the release of the latest National Climate Assessment here a couple of weeks ago, which was it was really just a manifesto. It was a climate alarmist, politically driven manifesto masquerading as science. I'm sure your listeners, they couldn't avoid hearing about it because, I mean, it was like a march through the book of Revelations. They were predicting everything but flaming toads falling out of the sky. Just every calamity that you could think of is being linked to climate change, and it's just not so. It was an embarrassment to the scientific process. This latest assessment,
Mr.
They outdid themselves. But you know what? They featured forest fires, Zeb. It was on the cover, the back cover of the first chapter, the overview chapter. Throughout that, they just stated flatly that forest fires were increasing due to climate change, and that's so easily disproven. And we can go to the National Interagency Fire Service or Center that takes care of handling all information related to fire in the United States, and we find that forest fires have decreased 75% over the last 80 years. Area burned in the United States has done the same. And then if you go to my website, I've got a fire page. One of my web pages there is devoted to forest fires. And you can see that. You can see where global fires have been decreasing significantly since the turn of the century. And the experts from the Canadian Fire Service and elsewhere actually attribute the decline in fires to climate change. And it's completely contrary, completely opposite of what we hear in the media, what we hear from this latest assessment report. Even California, CAL FIRE agency there, if you look at their data, for the last 30 years, the number of fires in California has been declining, not increasing, as they tell us.
Well, Mr. Wrightstone, you know as well as I do, and you've been on this program before, and we've had good discussions on this, and I'm going to lay my cards on the table face up. The people like Governor Jerry Brown and others that are blaming the horrendous and very detrimental fires in California to climate change are basically idiots, in my opinion, because it's nothing more than an accumulation of fuel, and a lot of fuel, that has been mismanaged because the environmental movement hasn't been allowed, or the people in the state haven't been allowed to go and fight the environmental movement to remove a lot of the fuels that created these hot fires and destruction. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're spot on. And we know that. If you look, again, let's just talk about California. You heard me just mention that fires have declined by 50%, the number. But if you look at the number from CAL FIRE, the area burned has, over the last 30 years, has increased slightly. Well, what does that mean? That means then that each fire is almost twice as big, right? Because you've got about slightly more area burned in half the fires. So what we're seeing in California and across the West, predominantly the West, is that the fires are larger and more intense. And why is that? That's because there's more to burn. Maybe we should start with if we talk about fire, there's three necessary ingredients for wildfire. You need an ignition source, you need fuel, and you need arid conditions. And right now, we're contributing, our actions and our policies of the government are contributing to all three of those. And think about it. Since 1940, now, according to a large study just done, 84% across the western United States, 84% of all fires, the ignition source is human-caused, okay? The rest, of course, natural sources would be lightning. But 84%. Since 1940, in the western United States, in 1940, we had a little over 600,000 people living in fire-prone areas. Today, that's almost 7 million people. There's been a 1,000% increase. And if humans, of course, are the main ignition source, you would think that fires would increase, but again, we've seen a significant decline in the numbers. But if we look at the Sierra Nevada Conservancy says that there are 5 times too many trees per acre, and what that is doing, it's not only, it's contributing, according to them, it contributes to the bark beetle, which I'm sure your listeners are very aware. It contributes, the bark beetle is spread more with denser trees together, which leads to dead trees. And think about, too, the second largest component in soil moisture loss is plants, what's called transpiration. In other words, when they're breathing in and out, they're losing a lot of water in that process. Increasing CO2 means they're more efficient and they don't need as much water, so they're not sucking as much water out of the ground. But if you've got 5 times too many trees, just think about it. all those excess trees are competing for that same scarce soil moisture, right?
That's right.
It's actually accelerating the dryness of the soil and making it even worse. So now you've got lots of timber, more dryness, and when these fires occur, they're terrible because what they'll actually do is kill the trees. If you look at pictures back from the 1850s of the Sierras, there were large grasslands with patches of pine and oak. And if you look at the pine trees, the first limb might be 20 feet off the ground. And why was that? Because they had yearly fires, grass fires that would sweep through. It wouldn't kill. They were low intensity. They wouldn't kill the trees. But now when we have a fire, we have this huge inferno, and it actually, it obviously kills the trees rather than the previous times when these low-intensity grass fires would actually help the grasslands and help the wildlife.
We have a caller with a question, Mr. Wrightstone, and I'm going to take that question and comment, and then we're going to have more. Caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Well, I studied this quite a bit, and last year, I think in 17, the West burnt 8 million acres, and, previously the highest that it was 10, and which was unacceptable. But mismanagement, like you say, is part of the thing. And then the media and climate change, not long ago, the fires in California, and the headline on on NBC News with Lester Holt, and there was a picture of Trump with a smirk, with a scowl on his face. The cost of climate change, the California fires, and it's like, Trump's the reason why we have global warming and the reason why we have forest fires, and he's to blame for everything. And in the meantime, we play these games, and the forests still are burning. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, if you would.
Well, sure. They're going to anything they can use to beat Donald Trump up, they will. But the fact of the matter, he's right about this, and of course Ryan Zinke, actually at Interior now, he instituted some forest management practices last year to try and remedy this situation. But this is not something that can be solved quickly. But you can't turn an aircraft carrier on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
What we used to consider sound forest management practices included timbering, thinning of the forests, controlled burns, and grazing. All four of those have been diminished significantly, and it really started in 1994 under Clinton. If you recall, we were going to save the spotted owl and old-growth forests. And that really accelerated this change in forest management practices. And under Clinton, they wanted to go to more of a natural forest. But what we've gotten really is unnatural forest because we're preventing the needed fires that might sweep through and clear out the underbrush before it accumulates too large. So there are changes that we can make, and actually Ryan Zinke at Interior, the U.S. Forest Service, has already implemented some of those, but it's going to take a while to get to convert and get back to where it should be from 50 years or 40 years of bad management.
Sir, I'm going to say this, and I want your response. When I look at the situation, and I'm going to revert back to the full court press again by the environmentalists and the Al Gores and the Tom Steyers and the Bloombergs and everybody else contributing to this, I honestly feel that this Trump administration was not expected by these people, and of course they thought they were going to have an agenda with Hillary that was going to just basically waltz into Dodge City and take over, and everybody was going to bow at the throne of climate change. Well, it didn't happen that way. And I think that's why they're having this full court press, because they're nervous that the philosophy of what they were trying to preach is nothing but garbage. Do you agree or not?
Well, I do, and I'm optimistic, Zeb. I see a sea change occurring with I talk to very few people that really buy into this thing. I traveled a lot. I was in Dallas last week and Denver the week before that. And I talked to a lot of people in the airports and what I talked to, and most people that I talk to agree with things that I'm saying. It's not that climate's not changing. Of course it is. You and I know that. But it's not our fault, and it's not catastrophic. I'm not a catastrophist. As you know, I'm a big proponent of an earth that's flourishing, that's greening, that's prospering, and it's benefiting not just the earth, but humanity. And it's a combination of an increase of rising temperatures and increasing CO2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's getting out there. And we just see, this week was a great example in France with them rioting. You won't hear it in the media, but these are climate change riots that's going on there. Climate change riots. They were trying to impose increases in fuel, carbon tax that was imposed by the French government. Gasoline for them was going to go up over $7 a gallon. Think what that would mean to your listeners on the farm. They need to, if they're going to double or triple their fuel costs, when you get your combines out there and your tractor, it'll be extremely painful, and that's what they want. These people want to impose a carbon tax. That's really the bottom line. And unfortunately, some of the Republicans have bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some of the old, I don't mean to denigrate George Bush on the day he's buried, but a lot of that Bush-era Republicans, like Trent Lott and others, have bought in hook, line, and sinker to this carbon tax. George, I forget his name now, George, but he was part of the Bush administration. A number of these Bush-era retread Republicans are really pushing hard for carbon tax and for us to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah.
And that would be hugely economically detrimental to the United States.
Let me ask you one final thought, Mr. Wrightstone, and I don't mean to sound vague, and I don't mean to sound naive about this, but what do they want? They being the environmentalists, they being the Al Gore types, they being the Tom Steyers. Have they sat down and ever answered the question about what mean temperature they want, what kind of climatic conditions they want, what do they want to do as far as acting like God with their hand on the thermostat? What really, bottom line, do they want?
Well, they want control.
There you go.
They want control. They want when we talk about things like this, it almost sounds like we should be wearing a tinfoil hat, because when we talk about one world governments and the UN taking over, but I think it goes back to that. This is a big power grab by the UN. They want a UN taxation system. They want to be able to tax the world, impose these carbon taxes. But as for what do they think the climate should be, before Scott Pruitt got run off from the EPA, he said a thing that was really interesting. He said, how arrogant is it for us to think we know what the ideal temperature of the Earth is, which was a great comment. Dr. Michael Mann responded. He's from Penn State. He was the one that created what's called the hockey stick. And he said, well, of course we know what the ideal temperature was, or is. It was the temperature that it was before we started adding CO2 to the planet. Well, Zeb, that would put us right squarely in the temperatures of the Little Ice Age.
That's right.
My goodness, the Little Ice Age, it was horrific. Half the population of Iceland perished. A third of the population of Europe perished. There was famine, crop failure, pestilence, mass depopulation, and that's what they want. Really? Maybe it is because many of these environmental extremists believe that actually humans are a plague on the earth, and the earth would be better off if there were no humans. So maybe that is what they want. But to go back to the temperatures of the Little Ice Age would be horrific, because we know if you look over last 4,500 years of Earth's history, we know that every warming trend, the Minoan, Roman, medieval, and our current warming trends, always corresponded with the great rise in civilizations. We see a great correlation between the rise and fall of temperatures and the rise and fall of civilizations. So it's the cold periods that the intervening cold, like the Greek Dark Ages, the Dark Ages and the Little Ice Age. They were always accompanied by famine, pestilence, and mass depopulation.
Absolutely. His book is called Inconvenient Facts, The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Gregory Wrightstone, a real friend of this program. Please know, sir, I'm going to call you back in the near future and have you back, and I want to extend to you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, sir. I really enjoy having him on my program, and like I said, he's a very common-sense person about the falseness of climate change and global warming. Gregory Wrightstone, thank you very much. Oh, my. Sean's sitting over there at the studio going, we have a weather forecast, don't we, Zeb? Yes, we do, and we're going to go to that right now. Scarrows Meats brings you the weather at 331 North Road, Jerome, and, of course, Don Scarrow and the crew, delicious meats for you, your family gatherings, everything. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Check it out. All the prime ribs, tri-tips, marinated pork ribs, all the bacon, all the sausages, all the bratwurst. The list goes on and on. They are good at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not much precipitation is in the forecast for the rest of this week, but it does feel like winter. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're expecting mostly cloudy skies today. A slight breeze out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour and a high of 27. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low right around 10. Leave those faucets on a trickle so you don't have freezing pipes. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies, expecting a high of 28. Wind chill values as low as 0. Winds out of the east-northeast right around 7 miles an hour. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 16. By Friday, mostly sunny and 30. And as we look at the weekend, looks like mostly sunny skies for Saturday, high of 32, and mostly sunny and 33 for Sunday. That's your weather. For Zeb at the Ranch.
Man, it's going to get to the woolly point of your life. Get the woolies out of the drawer. It's going to get cold. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Delicious meats from Don Scarrow and the crew, changing the way we eat. Look, one delicious bite at a time. Phenomenal. Really good. Let's see. I also want to take some time here real quick to acknowledge our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with all the different tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes and everything, so you can be ready for anything the highways and byways throw at you. The mud and the slush and the ice and the snow and everything else. So stop in and see them today and check out all the great buys on the tires you need for safe driving. And also don't forget they've got the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. You heard it's going to get cold, so make sure your battery's okay. If not, they've got the best in batteries with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I want to take just a moment here, and you probably noticed that we were referring to Sean at our main studio. Sean jumped in and is filling in for Wheels this morning. Wheels had a few health problems, and I want to just say this on behalf of Deanne and I. We extend the best of wishes and God's blessings to Wheels, and hopefully he'll be back in no time at all. But our thanks to Sean for running the program this morning. He did an excellent job, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, who's going to be on the board, but we certainly appreciate Wheels, and we want to let him know to hurry up and get better. And I mean that. We are, again, going to give you a quick reminder that next Thursday, December 13th, we're going to be at Denny's for the old-fashioned Christmas at 611 North Overland in Burley, and we're going to have Christmas carols and music with Ashley Ludlow and Loot in the Boot. Santa Claus is going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So put that on your calendar for next Thursday, December 13th, live remote broadcast, Zeb at the Ranch at Denny's for the old-fashioned Christmas. That's going to wrap it up for today. Tomorrow on the program, we've got various segments from the Chamber Report. We've got Cassia Regional Hospital. Rita Ramsey's going to be on the air. John Horvat's going to be on the program with us. We'll have our Cassia County School Days and all kinds of goodies right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And we'll start at 8:06 tomorrow morning, where we always say at the end of the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and The world needs more cowboys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.